It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. American Agri-Women invite women in agriculture to join us on the AAW Road to Influence. The AAW Road to Influence is a personal and professional development journey to identify strengths, to work effectively, individually, and in teams. This facilitated program will feature a combination of in-person and virtual sessions to build core competencies of building trust, communicating, resolving conflict, collaborating, and persuading others. It's unlike any other leadership experience. Women from all aspects of food, agriculture, and forestry come from across the country, learning and working together to apply concepts as they lead an initiative to make an impact for U.S. agriculture. Now accepting applications until September 15th for this one-of-a-kind experience. Begin your journey on the American Agri-Women Road to Influence by applying today at americanagriwomen.org. Hi, and welcome to North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. Today, we welcome back American Agri-Women past president Heather Hampton Knodle and vice president at CoBank, Sarah Ried Herman. As a farmer, past communications consultant, and association manager, Heather Hampton Knodle is dedicated to developing rural economies through incentivizing investments in telecommunications, innovative workforce developments, and enabling entrepreneurship, and especially leadership development. Sarah Ried Herman, vice president at CoBank, which is part of the farm credit system, is from a farming and ranching family in Colorado and a third-generation ranch owner. She's an active member of American Agri-Women and past president of California Women for Agriculture. Today, we're going to talk about an upcoming cohort of the leadership program developed in part by these 2 inspirational women, the American Agri-Women Road to Influence program, of which I was part of for the 2023-2024 class, and I will be graduating this November. So Heather and Sarah, welcome, and thanks so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Chrissy.
So let's start off by giving a little introduction. Sarah, do you want to start?
Yeah. Chrissy did a great job of introducing me, but I think it's really important to introduce the program that we're here to discuss today, and that's the American Agri-Women Road to Influence. And this is really a program that was Heather's vision. As she ascended to the presidency in American Agri-Women, most Agri-Women presidents have a platform of some kind, and leadership development was one that was really important to her. And she just happened to corner me at the meeting where she was installed as president, and we had a conversation about this. And in true American Agri-Women fashion, a couple months later, I get an email, do you want to do this? So really what we envisioned here is a program for the amazing women in our organization that have so much passion and so much knowledge about specific issues related to agriculture, but don't necessarily have the opportunities for, kind of this continuing education and professional development. As working in the farm credit system, I have a ton of opportunities to see that, day in and day out. And I knew, or I had a hunch that if we could just put a few things together, yeah, we could change the lives of the women in this organization by kind of refining what their passion and knowledge really is. So we dove in, had a great committee that put this together and took Heather's vision into reality, and I couldn't have been more pleased with the first cohort.
Yeah, and Heather, a year ago, probably very close to this time, you and I recorded an episode together where you were launching Road to Influence, and you sold me in during that, and so that's why I applied. Afterwards, I think we'd stopped recording, and I was like, "Okay, how do I do it? How do I get involved? This sounds amazing," and I can tell from experience that it has been amazing in the relationships, especially that we've developed with the other women. It's very small class size, and we meet monthly. Plus, we had 4 meetings, but I believe the next one will be 3 meetings in person. You really develop strong bonds with these women across the country. So, Heather, can you tell me about this journey for you, and where did this idea come from?
Well, for me, it has been even more than I could have asked for. For years, I looked at programs like Harvard School of Business, maybe their negotiating program or their leadership program, or, kind of looked wistfully, even though I'd been through our Illinois agriculture leadership program, like many people in agriculture go through, which is great. It was wonderful to work with people across the industry from our own state. And even though I've worked nationally in various roles, whether that was at Agri-Women or waterways or telecommunications, this program has delivered more in terms of call it that circle of trust, like you alluded to, the fact that we're getting to know people. Some we knew and some are new friends. And also just this higher level of applying individual leadership lessons, then taking in the team building part and then applying it in action. It really has been, I think, it's been a very good learning opportunity and an opportunity to stretch and to reflect at the same time. Where did the idea come from? Well, part of that had been my wistfully looking at these very expensive programs that I really, in my work as a farmer and also working in rural economic development, really didn't have access to, right? Either economically or the travel time. Mom of 4 children, we're busy and running our own business all the time. So this was a way, and that's what Agri-Women does, is we kind of meet women where they are, and it becomes a lot more doable and flexible based on their work schedules, their personal commitments, and all the other roles they play. But it just seemed to me that even within Agri-Women itself and within rural America, and agriculture, we just need to up our game and our ability ultimately to persuade. To me, that is the bottom line outcome. You can have a microphone, you can have a megaphone, you can have your website, your blog, your social media post, but if you cannot persuade people, then it may be all for naught.
Right. Yes. And that is a really good point to bring up. And maybe a little bit of background on American Agri-Women. A lot of what we do is, we attempting to influence policy. And so this road to influence is couples with American Agri-Women's mission of influencing policy. But then when you think about it, every part of our lives, we're influencing something in our jobs, with our kids, with our marriages, with our friends. You're always influencing something, right? In our churches. And so to really build those skills is so important. And what I really liked about was in the very first meetings, we did the Clifton Strength Test and really got to fine tune and understand ourselves before we did anything else. Sarah, can you kind of break down the course outline, starting with that first piece?
Yeah, so the program's really built around 6 competencies that the initial planning team put together, and then woven in with those competencies. The program kind of starts with a understanding yourself, and that obviously includes the Clifton Strengths Finder, we do a little bit of work on finding your why, and some other pieces. Then it kind of moves on to leading others, and that includes a lot of communications work, understanding generational differences, which in an organization as diverse as American Agri-Women is, I think a real eye opener for a lot of people in understanding, why generations are the way they are. Crucial conversations, which honestly, if I had to give someone one piece of advice on a really important tool to have in your toolbox, it would be crucial conversations. And part of crucial conversations is understanding how you react to things too, and the stories you tell yourself around a known set of facts, and how that influences how you communicate with others. And then the program moves on into persuasion and collaboration, and which is where the current program is. But it also wraps in a class project, and it's we talk to everyone in the interview process because they all want to know more about this project and what is that, and it's purposely vague, and it's really designed to give something back to American Agri-Women, essentially for this investment that they've made, but also put those skills to use, and delivering something that's meaningful for both the participants and the organization.
Yeah, that's great. And I like that you brought up the stories that we tell ourselves, because I don't know if men do this. I don't think so. But I feel like as women, we're always telling ourselves a narrative, and it's self-limiting. And I know, Heather, you and I have talked about this at length many, many times, about trying to get past these self-limiting behaviors that truly leave us in the dust. And it's our own fault. So can you talk about that more, Heather?
Well, it's interesting because that's probably the piece that I struggle with the most. There've been a lot of things that were not intentionally on my bucket list that I've been blessed to be able to do. But yet those things that are still on my bucket list, it's where I'm at right now is going back through our course material, reflecting on it, because it's so much. It's both dense and high impact. And in the moment that you review it, a year ago, different sort of circumstances or activities in a person's life, then you pull out different things. And at this point, I'll look at it again and pull out something new. And I love it. Like Sarah said, the crucial conversations piece, that is a high value training component just by itself as one part of this program. And we have the ability to go back through that and have access to the videos, to the materials, the additional reading material to continually reflect, hone, and do better. And so, what it means to me is then applying it to these personal goals that maybe this isn't true for everyone, but for me, it's kind of like I've wanted to do this for years, but what is it that has been holding me back? Clearly, it's me. It's me. It's not, I can't assign blame to anything other than that, because I'm the one making the choices on a daily basis of how to apply my energy, my focus, my talents. So I think the value in this program becomes, again, that deeper, just, being better, going deeper. And how can you yourself just be better and work better, more effectively with other people? And Chrissy, I'm sorry, I don't feel like I really answered your question, because I really am in this space right now, working on a project. As I go to, the soccer game, or I'm waiting in the parking lot for volleyball practice, that's what I'm trying to tell myself. This is your time to keep working toward this particular goal. Bring it with you. Keep working on it. Don't make some other excuse.
Right. And I think that was a perfect answer, because we all are in that life, right? And we want to make an impact. And I think one of the I guess the greatest things that really hit me was the one book that we studied. I think it was in the wintertime, and it was about getting out of the box. And it really we live in a culture where it's everybody else's fault, and we can be easily led to become a victim. And that's not the truth. The truth is that it's our responsibility to get ourselves out of the box. And so I really liked that it wasn't, the words tickling our ears that we want to hear. It was, you know what? You're in a box and you need to get out of it. And you need to look and see where it's your responsibility to take maybe that first step. And so I think that was such a valuable lesson. And that was kind of the theme all the way through, is that it starts with yourself, but not selfish, right? It's really looking to see where we can fit like a puzzle piece, because you think about American Agri-Women, right now we're covering coast to coast. I'm in Florida, Heather's in Illinois, and Sarah's in California. We're actually coast to coast, and so are all of our members, and we are a part of a puzzle. And this really helps figure out what puzzle piece you are, right? Can you add to that, Sarah?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you all hit on is there's a huge volume and density of information here, and this program isn't designed to make you an expert in any one or all of these. It's really designed to introduce a concept, and if that's something that resonates with you, trying to give you tools or places to go to learn more. Kind of going back to the Clifton Strengths Finder, I'm an analytical learner as my top two. And so, I'm one that will take that and dive into the information to learn more. And that's really kind of how we've designed that. And knowing that, we have members of the cohort that have had, different experiences with, personal development along the way, that are at different stages in their lives, different geographies, different experience levels and types with American Agri-Women. Really it's about putting that information out there, having some discussion around it, and then, kind of letting you choose your own destiny from there.
And Sarah, I just got to say, CoBank's lucky to have you, but I'm wondering if you will consider launching your own, either becoming a trainer within that organization or launching your own, because you've done to me, it's just an exceptional job of curating material, and everything just seems so on point. And it's not just with me individually, but the small cohort of, say, 10 people, and yet it speaks to each person in some way. And that is the beauty of it, is the fact that rather than doing just self-study on our own, well, I'm going to read one self-help book every month because then I'll get to where I go, right? I think the real beauty here is in coming back and discussing it as a group. And then you learn so much just from other people's perception or how they're applying it. And that in itself is this intangible value that we can't put a price on it, but it makes such a difference in the program.
Yeah, and I think you hit on kind of one of the key components there, Heather, is we're learning from each other through this too, from each other's experiences and their takes, and maybe how they saw or thought about a particular concept, because we aren't all going to look at it the same. And that's the beauty of being human, right? Is that we all, everything that brought us to this point influences how we learn, how we think about things, how we view the world. And being able to learn in an environment with others is how we continue to grow that experience, right?
It is. And it's been great to have such a good facilitator. We've had Sarah Hummel as our facilitator, and her approach, it's so organic in that it's kind of like there's no right answer. Everybody can share and we all learn from that, and then kind of lead into a new learning. And she adds additional value that you don't even see it coming. Like when you get on that Zoom, you don't know that you're going to end up with that additional value-added piece at the end of the session, other than what we just read and prepared for, or, have been thinking about or applying in the project. And it's just really been a pleasure. It truly is one that I look forward to, with all the meetings. that we all have all the time and commitments. It's like, yeah, no, that's going to happen. That's the golden hour. We're going to set that aside and be ready. So.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think about in my marketing brain, trying to figure out as we are promoting this next cohort, what's our target audience? And it's a little difficult because when you think about the current cohort, we're from all over the US, from timber, from ranching to commodities to food labeling to radio, right? There's and everything in between.
Finance.
So it's hard to, right. Yeah. So who are these women and how would each of you say, okay, this is our target. This is our target audience to become the next cohort.
Really in a very broad way, the way I look at it is our target audience here are the women that are the backbone of rural communities and agriculture. Yeah, I couldn't have handpicked a better cohort for our first in terms of diversity, and diversity in a lot of different ways. But really, we in an ideal world we would have a cohort that is geographically diverse. You have some people that are in production agriculture, some people that are in support functions, some people that have a good amount of experience with American Agri-Women, some that are maybe newer to the organization, represent a diverse commodity base. And I think that brings me kind of back to that last question, that wealth of experience and that diversity of experience to the group.
Mm-hmm. I would say, the person, who are these women? And it seems that a common thread is a willingness to learn, a curiosity, a willingness to learn, a recognition that none of us is perfect, but we can all get better. So there's kind of like this, it's kind of humility and ambition in the same people, but then not ambition in a bad way. I don't mean this somebody who's just after a title or after, not like that at all. It's just that recognition that continual improvement is valuable and it serves not only you individually and helps advance you in your career, but it helps the larger community where you live, in your home, where you interact professionally. And there, I think you've got that. I think that's the woman that we're talking to. And I was happy. I'd forgotten about the intergenerational thing because I've tried to be, I guess most of my life, I've tried to be kind of age blind, because it seems to me that no matter what age you are, you have something to offer and contribute. And wisdom is really how you learn from your experiences, not so much the number of years that you've lived. So that to me is valuable. I value wisdom. So to me, it's a beautiful thing that we have people from the 20s to 70s in the same organization, working alongside each other for common objectives, because they complement each other in ways that they wouldn't be able to do if they just stuck to their own age cohort. I don't know if this makes sense or not, but sometimes it's interesting because I've met with people on both sides of an age spectrum, and they kind of want to gravitate to people who look just like them in terms of their physical stage in life. And that, to me, it becomes kind of boring and predictable. And mixing it up is, I think, a good thing.
I agree. And I'm in the middle. And in our cohort, we have people in their 20s and we have people in their 60s, and just learning from both and finding the energy of the younger and then the wisdom of the older has been so valuable to me.
Right. Well, and even it's interesting because I've also seen wisdom in the younger. I'm thinking of one in her, two actually. Yeah, it's been the other way. And I actually think we may have one cohort member who might even be 80 now. But
wow.
She is one of the most, to me, she's one of the most out of the box thinkers, creative people I've ever met.
She's so wise, and that's not just, experience wise. It's, to Heather's point, it's thinking about things differently. And it's, just like everybody else in the cohort, that bringing that experience to the table, I think is just so valuable.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the timeline now for this new cohort?
So we have launched applications. They are available on the American Agri-Women website. Those are due by, what did we decide on those? September 15th?
15th, I think, mid-September. Yeah.
With the intent that we will do interviews between September 15th and October 1st and announce members of the cohort October 1st. And then the first meeting of that cohort will be our in-person meeting at the American Agri-Women Convention in Wisconsin in November.
Can you talk a little bit about the travel requirements? Because it does require some significant travel as well.
It does. And there is some personal expense here. And I want to be clear about that. I know Heather and I, in a perfect world with all the funding that, if we could wave our magic wands, it wouldn't be that way, but we're not quite there yet. So there are 3 in-person meetings. That is that November meeting in Wisconsin at the American Agri-Women Convention. It will be at our mid-year meeting, which is in Texas this year. And then the final will be at the American Agri-Women Convention in Illinois in November of 2025. We also do monthly in-person, or not in-person, monthly Zoom meetings to cover material. Those are scheduled for 2 hours. Sometimes it's a little quicker. This group tends to run long a lot because and not that we're dragging things out, but there's a lot of good content and a lot of good conversation. So, there's that. We do schedule those during the day, just because trying to schedule around you're either going to be super early for somebody or super late for somebody else. And in my experience, you don't get the best of people in those fringe hours. So, that is a requirement as well. And I want to make sure that that's, known in advance, and, someone who was interested can work that with, their employer or their schedule or whatever.
Yeah. We have been so fortunate that early on, John Deere and Syngenta saw the value in this personal development program and really have helped us lift everything off the ground. And we've had additional support from Valent, from AGCO, and Kubota has an interest now. I mean, so there's a growing interest and support, but we also recognize the reality in agriculture for us in farming and ranching. It impacts these agribusinesses as well. So the, funding uncertainties will be always, ever present. And again, that becomes the power of ultimately influence and persuasion to demonstrate that this is the type of really high value program where people, I guarantee you, these people, they have already given back and they will continue to give back to the industry as they improve their own situations. And that in itself, huge plus. We've also found that for many of our cohort participants, the American Agri-Women Foundation has scholarships and support that they have made available to several cohort participants to help them offset travel expenses. For example, to convention, we had several go to fly-in in Washington, D.C. in June. And there seems to be, there's recognition within the foundation of the value of this type of intensive personal and leadership development effort as well. So I'm not saying that'll cover everybody's cost, but I'm saying it's an opportunity for those who take the initiative and approach the leadership of that board to say, could we, please consider supporting in this manner. And the foundation has been very helpful in other ways as well, as far as course content, material, bringing in speakers. And it's really been just a wonderful thing, a great experience.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge that, many of our state affiliates have stepped up to help, either their members that are participating or others. We have one state affiliate that sees a lot of value in the program, regardless of whether it's for, their own members or others. So, this is a definite, it takes a village. Moment in terms of funding, but we do recognize it is an expense. There is we do require a fee to participate, and Heather and I talked about this a lot in the development, but I think it's also really important from a buy-in standpoint, right? You need a little skin in the game. And so that's, I want to be upfront about, this isn't just a show up and everything is taken care of for you. Would love it to be that way, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Yes, and the
So we
price
have
is.
that. Oh, sorry, Chrissy. I was going to say so we ask for that $500 up front, but the intention is that at the end of the program, participants get that back. But it's kind of like this, refundable deposit approach that, you've completed the program. It's been wonderful and life-changing and improving. And now you receive that money back. But like Sarah said, it's the idea of, literal buy-in. It's not just given a gift. It's something that you recognize you earn, you participate in, and or giving your all to it.
Right, exactly. And another important point is that space is limited. How many are you accepting this year?
We're somewhat flexible with that. We've targeted up to 12 participants. Again, kind of keeping that small, a little bit intimate, so you can develop those relationships as part of the program.
Right. And I think that was so effective, having a small group, because you can, after a few meetings, you do let your guard down with a smaller group, and you're able to be more honest with yourself and with everyone else when you really get to know people at a deeper level, right?
Right. Really, and we've seen that, just vulnerability, but that's the idea, is this is a safe space. Nobody's going to come back and, hold that against you or attack you or whatever for that. It's the idea is that in order to truly learn and figure out how to apply that learning, it's okay to be vulnerable and have those moments. So.
Right, exactly. Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I just want to encourage anybody who's watching, just sign up now. And there is an employer agreement. And even if you're self-employed, just note that on the application. But also if you have a spouse or a partner, there's sign up from them too, because the idea is, to let people to realize that you're doing something significant here, and for them to be aware of it and support you in that endeavor is pretty important and significant.
Yeah, I would just echo what Heather said. We'd love to have another fabulous cohort of women join us for this next iteration of the program, and really look forward to meeting those women and learning a little bit more about them over the next few months.
I think the challenge will be trying to get the alumni, so the current group, to not be like, well, we want to tune in.
Right.
Sorry, guys. No, you had
We're
your
out.
bite at the apple.
Well, I do think there is, as we think about the program and how it continues to evolve going forward, and, this is a little bit modeled after what I know some state ag leadership programs do, but I would love to have an active group of alumni of the program that contribute in some way. And I don't know what that looks like today. But I think, and these are also women that are, very involved in American Agri-Women. Time and resources are limited, but, I would love to be able to build on the kind of the collective knowledge as we continue to build out the program.
So that's like,
I love that.
So now we're going to get into brainstorming mode. This is the fun part. The next chapter.
That's it. Yeah, wonderful. So thank you both for joining me today. Great information, and hopefully we get a whole pile of applications in.
So thank you.
Be here. Thank you.
And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Rumble, Telegram, wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.